I will not wish death upon any Riley family member. I promise.
Okay, please don't. Just...
News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, emergency press conference. The gang is all here for a special edition of the unofficial 40. We did not do an Eskridge Lexus post-game show because I don't know, Eddie, Bob, you guys got back about 2 a.m. last night,
we knew that we were going to get together today for a lovely season wrap-up.
That was the plan anyway.
It's now a
post-game
career wrap-up something.
Yeah, it really is.
Go ahead, Carrie.
Lincoln Riley has left the Oklahoma Sooners in the lurch. In a lurch or the lurch? I don't even know. But
I think it's off f***ing lurch.
The first day of official in-home visits, and Lincoln Riley has bolted to become the head coach of USC. By the way, phone electronic noise is going to be very bad because our phones are still going off nonstop. I think some guy from On3 had posted before Feldman could.
yes.
But
minutes.
And so I got that news. I told you guys, and I think no one believed me. Like I said, Lincoln to USC.
I thought you made a typo. Like you forgot to say he's not going to USC. I was like, where's the typo?
No, there was no typo. It's just Lincoln to USC. And I think I typed it twice. I said Lincoln to USC,
yes.
Lincoln to USC. And I think Eddie said, really? And I was like, and then I'm getting phone calls, and I'm trying to, it's like, you know how that goes. It's like, I say, okay, I got to go get this on the board. And then the whole time Eddie's like, should we put this on the board? I'm putting it on the board. Just give me a second. Should we tweet this? I'm tweeting it out. Like, it seems like time lasts forever when you're multitasking like that and a big news story is out there. And it's just like you can't move fast enough, and it drives you crazy.
It's a lot like where we were on Friday, where it's like, okay, like all this stuff is adding up, and you know the news that is out there now, and it still doesn't make any sense.
Well, you're gearing yourself up for Lincoln Riley to take the LSU job directly after the game.
Sure. And it's
because of all those idiots that were, in the echo chamber just repeating each other that were not right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think after I spent some time over at the facility today, we've obviously talked to a lot of people associated with the program. Blindsided is probably the first word. Yeah. Surprised is the second.
Shocked,
and
angry.
Any other shocked, angry. I mean, you talk about out of nowhere. I think even the people that he works with are completely like, I know that I talked to somebody that was leaving the facility today, and they basically said, like, after he told us, talking about the coaching staff, we kept waiting for him to like smirk and say, I'm just kidding. I'm not going anywhere. I think that people are that like taken aback by the news.
I mean, look, this is a guy that cried because Baker Mayfield got suspended for a quarter or whatever, a series. Like, sat there and got, like, he built it. And then I don't even want to get into the stupid questions that I asked him last night.
They weren't stupid though.
But I mean, just the stupidity of it all is that that he would sit there and lie about his administration and how it's all working out, and they have a great relationship and they'll continue working together in the future.
It is definitely a classic case of hindsight's always 20/20 though, because now when you go back and you watch the video,
want to say, are you going to be at Oklahoma next year?
But you just look at his body language and you go, he was very uncomfortable about that. But I remember thinking at the time it was like, he's uncomfortable because he doesn't want to be talking about it because of recruiting and everything else that is out there ahead of, and it's because of, the way that the game ended.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact that he had it pre-planned to say, I'm not going to LSU when he knew he was going, so like, it pisses me off because he threw me off the scent.
Yeah.
He completely threw me off the scent. And I wasn't smart enough to realize that's what he was doing. Because he was going to USC, not LSU. I mean,
right. When will we learn when it actually happened? We're starting to hear little tidbits here and there about what, maybe a month?
Eddie's
Month in the
getting
works,
some
maybe,
stuff
perhaps?
about that he was at a private airport.
Well,
outside
that
of
it's
LA,
just what somebody has posted on the board, so you
during the
never
bye
know.
week or-
Yeah, that maybe he was seen out at a private airport during. Somebody had posted on the Crimson Corner about that, but and it's one of those things that is it always looks 50-50 when you go, like the way that they played out of the bye week, just how unprepared they were in Waco.
What I believe, I tend to believe this. It's not like I wouldn't run with this and report this was it, but I kind of get the feeling that this was all rubber stamped on Thanksgiving. That's when this happened.
And that's sort of what Josh was hearing too, correct?
Yep. I had someone that mentioned to me that they thought this deal was done Thursday. And that was exactly the day they gave me. And it was somebody, I'm not saying I'm 100% about that information, but it's not someone, A, that would make it up, and B, wouldn't have any way to know that. Like,
Sure.
there is some cause to believe that is when that got finished.
But, okay, back to when this started breaking today. I don't even know what time was it when Feldman tweeted. My day.
Well,
awesome.
it was when he
it-
first put it in the morning. When the morning he started talking about USC going.
He and Thamel
after
both, yeah.
Riley.
Mm-hmm.
That
Then
was
around
like 11:30, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was around 11:30, and then 2:30 is when the news broke out.
I was shopping for Christmas yard art with my family.
Oh my God!
Like yeah, I know.
Hey, that's how I felt
We
on,
were-
on Black Friday, Josh. When I was like, I can't help the guys. I have no reception at the outlet mall.
This is
There's
the
nothing I can
problem.
do.
This is the problem with Josh's stories about his house. Like, you have all of these elaborate things that you do at your house. It makes it sound like you live at a mansion, like you need to have a croquet set in the backyard, and that you have bounce houses stored. Like you just have a normal house. Like, I went to your house. I mean, it's a beautiful house, but it's not like extravagant.
You're right.
I mean, it's like your yard. I think my yard is bigger than your yard. And
I think you could be right.
You're shopping for yard ornaments.
Well,
And
hey,
not saying
Carrie,
it's a tiny yard or anything, but it's not a
No.
big yard.
It's a normal yard. It's a completely normal yard.
It would take a normal person less than an hour to mow your front and backyard.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, not like
Anyway,
again,
you were
to-
shopping
to-
for yard ornaments while this was going down.
And I did so I had stopped there. We were getting again. It was like a Christmas sign for the front yard, and I stop at Home Depot because I had something to return. And I look at my phone and I see you guys talking, and I'm like, okay, holy shit, holy fucking and it was just like, oh my God, the world is burning. And I was like, Tiffany, I mean, because. We're a couple. I drive everywhere. I'm like, you're driving. Like, you got to drive. I've got to get on the phone. Like, and I'm just like texting and I'm talking to you guys about what we need to do, what we're going to do.
What was her reaction when you told her what was going on?
She freaked out. The thing Tiffany is absolutely most engaged with in this story is that Bob Stoops will be coaching the bowl game. Tiffany loves her some Bob Stoops. She's very excited about that.
No, I was the same way, Josh. I told Brittany, I was like, you got to come home. You got to take Pearl. I don't care what you're doing, where you are.
Yes.
She was at Walmart. She's doing Christmas stuff. Like, you've got to come home this second. Not check out and come home. You've got to come home right now.
Yep. Tell me what you got. I'll go get it for you later this week. Like, I'll make it up, but you can't be there now. Yeah, 100%. I know nobody gives a shit about this. We need to get into the Lincoln stuff, and that's not Bob. My stuff too. Nobody cares. But guys, I like I said it on Twitter. People are going to watch that press conference video that Eddie's got up for years and years, and just analyze
The art of lying.
Yeah, the body language, all of it, and we all wrote it off. Because he lost a tough game to a rival, and
Lincoln Riley is like he's left a digital footprint of what it looks like when he lies his ass off.
Yeah, guys, they're
gonna feed that into one of those face apps or whatever, and like just be able to detect if Lincoln is lying about something. Like, he has left that digital footprint. I hope people use it against him from now and forever.
Just think of that.
His word is nothing.
Oh, I mean, that's what Lincoln Riley has done. Everything that he's built, everything that he's ever said to any player, to any reporter, to anyone that he works with, any coach, any administrator, like he set it all on fire. It's on, I mean,
yeah.
his credibility is up in smoke. Like, he's done things that can never be rebuilt with these actions. And look, we need to get into, Joe Castiglione. Did he expect this? Like, what were those, like what I was asking about? Obviously, I've been hearing some things about him and the administration.
Correct.
And things that he was not happy, and that was leading to some of these, things about him being interested in other jobs. And part of the question I didn't ask last night is, I wanted to. I look back on some things too that I regret about that. I wanted to phrase it more like, what will keep this from happening? What does the administration have to do to keep this from happening? And I can beat myself up about all of this, but he would have just lied about that too. I mean,
oh yeah. Even if you'd have known the exact way to word it and try to corner him, he just lied. I mean, he didn't lie last night. He didn't lie about the LSU thing. But, it's one of those things where he knew he was shading the truth to a absurd degree.
But, I mean, like the players, like you said, Eddie, being down there talking to him, the coaches, I mean.
Yeah, I didn't
for them to be blindsided and to spend 2 minutes with the team telling them that you're leaving and then just walking out and leaving it up to Bob Stoops to clean up the mess.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that just feel like they were. I don't even know if
you told me that I was your family.
Yeah.
We are all in this together.
Sure.
You start your press conference by saying how horribly you feel for the team, yet you're out there job shopping the entire time. We come out and play like shit against Baylor, and you may have been at a private airport in L.A., and then you're going to come in for 2 minutes and tell me you're leaving, and that's it? I'm not even going to get any crocodile tears like Baker got when he got suspended for grabbing his crotch?
I don't think that it is. In a way, I almost think that there's only one person that isn't shocked with this decision, as stupid as that sounds, and it's Lincoln. And he knows that this is something like, looking back on a lot of this, doesn't it feel like he's known that he's been wanting to get out of here for a while? I would hope.
I'm really trying not to MF him because by the way, I kind of wish I would have got fired at my radio station now. I could do some massive grandstanding today.
All the people that were so pissed at you are now like, was he right? God bless it. We got to give Kerry credit now.
Well, I said this today. I said this on the I did an emergency radio show today. I said, I want the numbers of all UMFers, I didn't say that, who called in to get me fired because I should now be allowed to call your job and try and get you fired.
Well, let's do it. You should do it. You should do it. After the coaching search, we'll do it. Doesn't it feel like, though, like with everything that went on throughout the season, like there's so much shit out there right now behind the scenes, it feels like, within the athletic department, on top of just the football program in general, on top of just the season in which they had in general. It makes sense why they underachieved this year with so much drama going on, it seems. And what is that drama? I don't know. I don't know what the drama is. We think that we have an idea about some of the stuff, but it just kind of reinforces the idea of why things were so good for so long with Bob. It's because everything was so strong behind the scenes. It just doesn't seem like that's the case right now. It
clearly started to unravel. Certain things started to unravel.
And it got to a point that there was just no return.
Yeah. Do we think,
that gets into the other stuff, just like within the team of, was there a division between Alex Grinch and Lincoln Riley? Like, just shit like that.
Here's the only example I can think of, guys. And, I don't want to take all the blame off the administration because this relationship fell apart. And I think but when something like this happens, both sides are to blame a little bit. To me, the only example I could think is like, this is newspaper versus new media. Like, Lincoln made so much more about the program focused on recruiting. Bob didn't do that. Bob was about football. He was about practicing and playing football. He wasn't there. There was a balance that was more football than recruiting. With Lincoln, it was at first the football was still really good and the recruiting was getting better. Now you have to say that the recruiting reached a point where it's better than the football that we're seeing on the field. Josh, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Guys, I was talking about it, Pete, with that, talking about that last night with people where they were trying to make it about recruiting. And I'm like, guys, talent is not this team's problem. They're not producing at the level that their talent ranking says they should. With the exception of like Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, there's nobody that's flatly more talented than Oklahoma.
And what I think is when the recruiting took off, and now you have this department full of people like Annie Hansen and Zach Heffley's gone now, but you have this whole video component and marketing component that you didn't have under Bob Stoops, and all these extra people fighting for recognition and getting paid really well. And it leads to all this stuff of people kind of fighting for recognition and achievement and all this stuff. Like, to me, the football side of things started to differ from what the athletic department was doing. Like, there was a divide. Like, Joe Castiglione doesn't live in that world where it's all glitz and glamour and marketing yourselves and pumping yourself up. And he does get it, but that's not his style. I mean,
and that's the other thing about, like, you talk about style and you talk about just how Lincoln Riley runs a program too. The dynamic going from what he has now, and he's able to control a lot. Mm-hmm. He's able to, limit access media wise, like, which, I hope the next coach is as open as they come. Like, that's kind of like the great part about this, like, fingers crossed. But just the way that he runs a program, we're all familiar with it. Throwing that into the middle of Los Angeles is just fascinating.
I texted our old friend Ryan Abraham, who runs the USC side of 24/7.
Get ready. Did you tell him?
I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you just inherited the worst media-friendly coach in America.
They're going from a program that it's routine for Abraham and those guys to
go to voluntary workouts and just film and
to hang out.
Pictures, yeah.
To hang out, just be able to just watch.
Do whatever they want.
Watch as players walk into the practice field, go to practice.
You have 2 NFL teams out there. You have Major League Baseball. You have
everything.
The Lakers, the Clippers.
Now, I completely get it. Winning, you go out there and win, cures everything. Nobody gives a shit. They won't care as long as you win.
And I think there was an inability of Lincoln Riley, like Bob. He knew that he had to work with other departments, with other, like Bob loved Sherry Cole and Patty Gasso, and like he was involved and all that. And Lincoln would do that stuff every once in a while, but like Bob knew that he had to bend a little bit, that he didn't exist in a bubble. I think Lincoln really fought to build a bubble of OU football that could exist without, too much oversight. That he would, like, I'll say this now, and I bet he would admit it now, but we, get frustrated with Mike Houck, the sports information director. Mike Houck had zero relationship with Lincoln Riley. He had to fight, scratch, and claw to build a relationship with Lincoln Riley. And it was not right. I mean, then you get in positions where the media is pissed off at you, like I was, and I started calling them names. Like, it gets to a breaking point. Like, Eddie has been really frustrated. I mean, at certain things. I mean, you posted something you were pissed off after the Baylor game, and I asked you to take it down. You did, and you hung up on me, and that wasn't good. Like, it just started, like, you talking about drama.
We're all in therapy right now.
You're talking about the drama of, like, all those people on staff, on faculty.
No,
like,
it is.
Like, we have a lot of drama that goes on. We just cover the fucking team. We don't live it like they do. Like, it must just be a mess inside of that thing.
It's startling. I think that's probably the best way to say it. It's just startling, and it's not to say that, like, I think the other side of this would be too that, like, there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this, and they're obviously just going to, I think there's going to be some people that say that they're sitting here and they're just shitting on Lincoln Riley and everybody else, when in reality it's like these questions were never going to, they were always going to be out there, weren't they? Even if he stayed, there was stuff, and it's funny, like, going back to the conversations that we were having this morning in the war room, Like there was a serious moment of there needs to be looking into the mirror if you're Lincoln Riley and saying what's wrong with my program right now. Mm-hmm. And I think
okay.
Yo, go ahead, Bob.
Well, but I think Bob, everyone spent the entire year asking him what was wrong, and his response was always, "Well, we're 6-1, or we're 7-1. How many other teams would like to be 9-1 like we are?"
Yeah, I mean, he kept saying that they're close, and when you got really repetitive and aggravating. My question is, do you think Riley believed OU wasn't ready to go to the SEC, like the university as a whole?
I think this. I think Lincoln feels like the administration is not built to be in the SEC, which means they're not ready to play in the dirt and the mud, because that's not what Joe wants out of his athletic department.
I mean, I'll say it. Lincoln Riley hated OU's compliance department just as much as everybody else out there does. Mm-hmm. And that's just the fact. That's the fact of the matter.
Because, again, that they would not allow him to operate in a football bubble.
I had heard people talking about, like, compliance office, and I don't know if this is confirmed. And I'm just throwing it out there because this is what I had heard. But, like, compliance would be out at practice, and, you can only have so many hours with the team a week. And, if practice is supposed to be over at 3, at 3:02, they're like, all right, everybody needs to get off the field. Like, you think that's happening at anywhere else in the country? And it just goes back to all the trouble that OU got in. Was it with the Bomar stuff that really set the compliance department off?
That's where the
just think about Gabe Eichert and Pastagate. Like, that shit, like, I think at 90, I don't know. I've never worked in an athletic department. Maybe I'm wrong. 90% of America would just roll their eyes at something like that.
Guys, covering recruiting, obviously I talked to a lot of recruiting guys at other sites that run, whether they're SEC, Pac-12, Big Ten, whatever it is, run into a lot of guys. I will tell them stories, and it's just mouth agape. They can't believe what they're hearing.
Like
about
being able to take pictures of recruits.
Yes. Like, I tell people that, and they're like, is that a real, like, if you guys were fans, you could take pictures. I'm like, I know it's an absurd policy. There's just no other way. I mean, like, there's all these things that OU has to deal with and fight against that they shouldn't be dealing. I mean, not shouldn't, but nobody else is having to deal with it. So, again, and guys, we've talked about it from a bunch of different perspectives in recruiting. If OU wants to go to the SEC and have success, they're going to have to take a cold, hard look at we want to be the nice guys. That doesn't exist in the SEC. There is nobody in there that's winning more than 6 games that's got clean hands. That's not a thing.
I'll say this. If they go to the SEC, well, here's the problem you're facing now. They may not have been built to go to the SEC right now.
And now they're taking steps back instead of taking steps forward.
They're definitely not going to be ready to go to the SEC when that time comes.
It's a scary proposition. I mean,
but here's the thing: like, back to compliance. We've all known that they've had a hand tied behind their back ever since Bob Stoops, and that's an example like Bob Stoops. Like, one time I came out and said, the way compliance operates, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't chase off Bob Stoops at some point. And he got very angry at me because he was like, "Look, don't speak for me. Like, I'm fine with compliance, but don't say." He was very clear. He said, don't say that it affects me or my happiness here because you're not speaking for me. But, I mean, we've known it forever. Like, it's an issue. Yeah. It hampers your ability to just do things that you, not to cheat, but just to do, just to feel like you're not being watched over every minute
like somebody's looking over your
shoulder.
To
work in the gray area, at least. Just like things that could, because, guys, imagine what that story Eddie just talked about with compliance being out there on the practice field. Imagine somebody trying to do that to Nick Saban. He'd break your phone, your watch, and tell you to go to hell. Like, and nobody's gonna like call him on it. Like, the Alabama's compliance department will be like, oh, okay, we'll be back out whenever you're good with it, coach. You just let us know. Like that's the reality of it. And I'm not saying the compliance department is doing what they're supposed to do, but nobody else does it.
But let me ask this question. And this is something that I think Joe needs to think about. you know that there are shoddily run compliance departments all over the country, but really, what's the worst that has happened from someone not having an excellent compliance department? Like OSU got hammered for a $300 mistake. So, I mean...
That's a good point. Like, why do that? Why do they bend the knee to the NCAA?
Yeah.
Who tell them to take a hike. That's a great point.
Guys,
I've never even thought about it that way.
It's just like the picture thing we're talking about, guys. It's not just like, oh, some people take some pictures. Like Auburn and Florida State, like they... Guys, there are schools that just walk players out on visits to the media that's there. Mm-hmm. Texas has a corner where all the damn media waits for kids to come out of their official visits. I'm not talking about the SEC. I'm talking about a Big 12 opponent where the guys like me would just be sitting there with a damn microphone waiting to do 12 interviews with the kids that got done with their visits just then.
Well,
and like the other
barbecue event.
Sure.
Yes.
And the other side of that too is like the most mind-blowing part.
Actually, I think the NCAA didn't they just change the rule, Josh, where you can actually interview kids
on campus.
If they're on official visits, I believe, not unofficial, but if they're doing an official visit and they're having a function or event, you can interview them outside the event. I think I don't know. I need to look into that more
because the NCAA realizes that they can't police it, so they're like, well, there's no point in us trying to sprint uphill. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Well, and my only problems with compliance have been that they overinterpret the bylaws. It's like the thing about taking pictures, they're interpreting it that way because they're saying that universities are not allowed to publicize recruiting visits. They're not publicizing anything when I know that is I can't even remember name. But
you won't have to learn it.
Yeah,
we'll get to that here.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about knowing Raleek Brown anymore, or Malachi Nelson, or Makai Lemon. Like, my God. But no, like if you see that Malachi Nelson is on a trip and you take his photo, they're saying, "Oh, nope, you can't publish that because that's us promoting a official visitor." It's like, no, you're not. You're not. No one told me to take a picture of him. But so it's like shit like that. I can see how Lincoln Riley might get frustrated because I can't imagine the number of things. It's like I said, Joe. What good does it do you having bunch of over-officious jerks as compliance officers?
Guys, I know I know what we're talking about here, but you know how the last 20 minutes is going to be received. Quit making excuses for Riley. So I think we should dive into choosing USC over Oklahoma, LSU, Florida, any of the options he absolutely would have had. I know LSU's reeling that back, but they'd have offered him in a heartbeat if they thought they could have got him.
No, there's an overall, I think, general feeling from the outside looking in, and I kind of tend to agree with it, and it kind of goes with, I think, a lot of the fans' image of what the program had become, that Riley was scared of the SEC. I think that's the way that it looks. I think that's the way it looks. I do think, though, it also makes sense to say, if you weren't comfortable with Oklahoma going into the SEC, if you weren't comfortable with the direction of the program, you go to a school like USC, you can win big, you can recruit well, and it's a much easier conference. Like, I completely understand what where he's coming from in that ideology or that thinking of going to the Pac-12 and going to a school like USC. It's a blue blood, no matter what people want to say. It's a great football tradition-rich program, very comparable to Oklahoma. So I get it. It's just stunning and shocking, and maybe even tough to swallow a little bit to know that was the decision that was made at the end of the day.
We've heard nothing about contract numbers, though, correct? Like, we haven't heard a dang thing about money.
No, and I don't know what
terms.
I don't know what
USC is
USC's
a private university, so they don't have to
so we
disclose
won't.
anything.
Interesting. It just it does seem a little soft. It does seem, like he might be a little bit of a pussy in that type of decision making. It's easy for me to sit here and say that. But that's just the way that it feels right now, doesn't it? It feels like he's running away from something rather than
100%.
And I think that's the easiest reaction, is it not?
And the fact that it comes today, the first day of official visits, it seems a little spiteful. You didn't do anything to help OU at all.
He torched OU.
Yeah.
And to go into the area where Oklahoma has the vast majority of its elite offensive commitments.
Yeah.
Come on. You're just sticking a finger in their eye now. Like
And
that's
guess what?
vicious.
When he gets to LA and gets in his new office and things, guarantee he calls Caleb Williams.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he'd be insane. Guys, I don't fault him for it. It's vicious, but it's exactly what I would do.
Here's
Now, is that
here's
hang
the
on.
thing. No. Wrap your head around this. Caleb Williams leaves. Who the f*** is the quarterback at OU next year?
I have no idea.
I was about to say that.
Ralph
And
Rucker.
Spencer Rattler leaves. And
Ralph effing Rucker.
Seriously, like I
going
think
to the
that this is
portal
a
and
move.
grasping at straws.
When you start looking at the trickle down effect of it and what we believe is going to happen in the recruiting realm, and Josh and Bob, you guys need to speak on that. I think this is it might be an overreaction right now, and we'll see who they bring in. We'll see how everything kind of settles. It's going to be at the kind of the late at the feet of Bob to kind of slow down everything, I would imagine. But like, it feels like this is a decision that is going to set back the Oklahoma football program for a while.
It really could. It really could.
And it's something that if you don't make the right hires, if you don't make take the next step and do everything that kind of by the book, you could end up being 3-9 all of a sudden.
You
in the
could be
SEC.
Nebraska overnight.
100%. Like, and I don't.
This is the first major program to do
the
this.
Urgency of getting a coach with early signing period, but also making sure you get the right guy. These next 3 weeks are just going to be insanity.
Guys, that's the thing. I mean, nobody's dealt with this. Nobody has left a program in incredible shape behind. Nobody's done it. So,
and like I
there's
said,
there's no way to understand how this is going to play. There's no frame of reference for it.
First coach to leave Oklahoma for another college job since 1946, Jim Tatum. It's crazy.
Guess who followed him, Eddie? Guess who followed him?
Bud.
So, I mean, now national championships are about to rain down in Norman.
Well, I mean,
that's what we've learned.
Wait. That's not the only thing, though. Chuck Fairbanks left to go coach the New England Patriots, and guess who followed him?
Barry Switzer.
Barry Switzer.
Bring Barry back.
Guys, can we agree?
Maybe that'll be Bob's offensive coordinator.
Whoever they hire has to be a B name. Has to be a B.
Well, Lincoln was. He was.
Oh no! From the top rope.
We can air all the grievances, can't we?
I really have to delete that. I can get fired. I signed a document. Mark.
What's the transfer portal going to look like for the Sooners in the next 2 weeks?
I don't think it will be as
Bob
big.
Stoops realistically do?
I don't
to
think
keep
that
this together.
Well, I mean, is it an overreaction or is it an underreaction to say that I don't think that it's going to be drastic? Do I think that there's going to be some big names? Do I envision Caleb Williams taking the first snap at Oklahoma next season? On November 28th, I can't say that I do.
Here's my thing. This is my thinking on that. Like, we've all heard tons of names thrown out there. Some of them realistic, some not. Most of them unrealistic. I mean, like, we're these OU fans now that, all these years, all these people tried to come after Bob Stoops or whatever. It's like, you realize that you just don't steal a coach from a major program that's having success. Like, and everybody would get upset. It's like, well, people don't try and do this to Ryan Day, or people don't try to. I mean, like, Texas tried to do it with Nick Saban, but like, it's never successful.
I heard he took that job.
It's never successful, but then it happened, and you're just like, God damn, you've taken that away from me. That I can laugh at you every time a stupid rumor comes up like LSU. But it is unprecedented in this day and age. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to defend anything about Lincoln Riley through this whole deal because he's handled it terribly. But I just want to say, like, don't we have to blame the administration at OU for letting this happen?
Well, I think that blame goes everywhere. I think that obviously the communication, the relationships weren't as strong as we thought they were because he didn't believe in what they were offering.
And guess what? Lincoln Riley may have got to the point where he's like, it's either me or Joe. And, you could go to Harris and say that. I mean, and maybe that happened.
See, I don't.
Maybe that was the final step. But Lincoln could still, he has now started the clock on Joe Castiglione because Joe Castiglione's hired two football really one football coach that led to a second football coach.
Sure.
What if he hires a clunker? And that's the thing about Oklahoma. That's the thing about Joe Castiglione. If he hires a clunker, he's getting fired over this.
Well, this is a situation, too, that, just where everything's going right now. And it's one of the reasons why Lincoln isn't here. Because they don't feel like that OU's ready for the SEC to make the move. And that's like the other thing is like, and we haven't got into is where does OU go from here? I think the names that are out there it's fun to talk about, but like
what's realistic?
What's realistic?
Right.
What constitute or is considered a big fish in the coaching market right now? There's a lot of people that just signed big ass contracts. The way that Oklahoma's run right now, I don't see them getting into any type of bidding war.
Right.
It's scary to an extent because you just don't know which way it goes.
And how quickly they can fix.
Sure.
Look, this offense is going to be decimated.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't hire an offensive coach with a reputation where everybody's like, oh, I want to play for that guy, they're screwed. That's the thing about Brent Venables. Like, unless he's bringing Joe Brady with him, and Joe Brady would only be coming if he's going to be the head coach. Like,
hold up. Brandon Ennis has just announced he is decommitted from Oklahoma.
Wow.
There's the first
5-star wide receiver. I know it's coming. It's not going to surprise anybody listening to it, but that is, the 2023 class is about to just melt away.
And
you know what? I think there's going to be a lot of people that obviously get angry at the kids. I completely get it. You have to understand that, right?
This is all on Lincoln Riley for leaving.
And anybody
on
mad at Brandon
Castiglione
Ennis, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
He doesn't know. Guys, he was going to, any of these kids, you wouldn't blame them if they look around, took some visits, did some things.
You're
not going to fault them now.
You won't have to worry about being mad at recruits because players are going to jump ship too. Because this is just how it is now. Like, you're going to get a look at, like, I was on with Ashback today, and he was like, it's unwritten, it's a rule, it's a understanding. You don't recruit your former players. And I was like, Al, OU's basketball coach brought his two best players with him to Norman. Like, no one's following that rule anymore. Lincoln Riley will take everyone. Porter Moser.
Well, the Groves brothers aren't from Loyola, from Eastern Washington.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. I was like,
okay. I'm sorry, basketball guys. I'm sorry. I'm not the expert here like you two. That is weird. Did he have the big, tall, dumb guy?
He's not
Porter
dumb.
Moser?
You better watch it.
With the mustache?
Cameron Crutwig.
Oh, yeah, Crutwig. I love that guy.
We wanted Cameron Crutwig to be part of the Moser experience.
Because he would have been like a 6-year, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have had to use a COVID year.
Yeah.
Did he stay in college?
No, I think he went pro.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I got confused. Anyway, no, Lincoln Riley's not going to. If he can get Caleb Williams, he's taking Caleb Williams. If he can get, if he could get Jaden Hazelwood to go, he'd get Jaden. He'll take whoever's going to go. He's not going to take any offensive linemen, but
I have heard, and this is like one of those questions that comes up here just in the matter of the next couple weeks. I think is I was told that he's told staff members that anybody that wants to come to LA is invited. What that means, I don't know.
But my question to you is that faculty or is that
I think
assistant coaches?
Assistant coaches and faculty.
Speaking to a few people, I've got a few reservations on that being factual.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'm not saying, and I know.
I think that there will be guys from this staff that go with them.
Yes, I do agree with that.
I think Kane will go. I think Kane will go.
I think Viney goes.
Simmons will go.
I think Viney will go in some kind of role.
Well, he's a Cali guy, yeah.
I'd bet Manning goes.
but would he go without Grinch? I mean, if Lincoln and Grinch are at odds.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I just kind of, with him having some West Coast, background and knowing the area a little bit. But you're not wrong. It'd be interesting. But it's just kind of crazy because, you've heard some talk of some of the guys on staff that are much more connected to OU than they are Riley, and you kind of wonder where guys come out on that. Guys like Odom, guys like Murray, that kind of stuff.
And I don't want to sit here and just scare people because it still is Oklahoma. There's still going to be, I would think people interested in the job. It just it is a very cautious situation. Maybe I don't know how to describe it. It's a situation that I think people right now, just in the aftermath and the hours of learning of everything that has happened, it just seems like there are still a lot of people that are, kind of left here sitting and saying, oh my God, I can't believe that this all just happened. But there's also a part of you that, I think there's a lot of people that, obviously watched the Bedlam game last night, watched throughout the season, kind of makes a lot of sense on some of the stuff that happened throughout the year. And not stuff, it's just like the discipline within the program, the just inattention to detail on the field.
Special teams,
like that bullshit that we saw last. We haven't even talked about the fucking game last night.
What's funny
I don't think
is
we're ever going to.
We literally spent the morning from when I woke up, because I went to bed really late, just like you guys did. We spent the morning talking about our plan for our season, our season wrap up, like what we were going to do.
Yeah.
What we were going over, like the things that need to be addressed the most, and there's so many things, like the offensive line, it's a huge problem. There's somebody needs to just admit we're going backwards on the offensive line, and it has. And like you said, the discipline issues are out of control. That was some fucking awful football to watch in the second half yesterday, especially on offense.
And it was consistent with most of the year. And maybe even going back into the last couple years. And I think this is the part where I don't want to sit here and celebrate.
Not being able to run an offense against the zone. My God, how do you not fix that, Lincoln? And then to not see that OSU was going to switch from all their man coverage to zone and not even be Oklahoma State's defense. They were just being a copy of Iowa State's defense last night, and it was enough to shut down OU completely. Lincoln, what the fuck are you doing? You're the offensive coordinator. How can you not fix that? See, I'm getting my anger out now about the game last night, and it's even more fierce because he fucked everybody.
It kind of adds up, though, doesn't it, guys? Everything that happened, everything that went down, there is a lot that adds up, and you go, and I guess this is the part where you go, yeah, Tom Luganbill kind of knew what he was talking about there for a second, right? That there was some shit going on.
Don't trigger, Josh.
I'm sorry,
boy.
But it is true.
F you, Eddie.
It is true, though. There's shit going on behind scenes.
I will say, though, even his own broadcast partner called him out on that stuff, Dusty.
No, he obviously didn't end up at LSU.
And he retracted.
And I think a lot of that got taken out of context, even though I don't want to even get into it. But it does make sense that on the surface, they tried to keep everything, looking like it was happy, when in reality, it was far from. And you wonder kind of what if everything could have been cured? Could this team have reached its potential? And obviously we'll never know that because, can't go back in time, but I find it all it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating that, we're sitting here at a situation where, I tweeted it earlier, Oklahoma's in the head coaching department, coaching search department. You don't say that. This is the first time it's ever happened in my, truly my lifetime of covering and following it.
Yeah, I think we just all got comfortable. I think my thought process had always been, when Lincoln Riley gets sick of recruiting, he'll leave Norman. I never ever thought he would just leave when everything was still in place to go be as successful as you possibly could be. I just thought he'll get older, his priorities will change, he won't want to do the day-to-day grind, and then he'll look for something else. I never, ever imagined it would be within the next 5-10 years.
I would love to know what the interim coach thinks right now, just to how all this went down, because I think he has
100%.
to. I think he has to feel a little burned, does he not, Josh? I mean, this is kind of a fuck you to Bob Stoops.
I mean, it's the guy he vouched for. He put his faith in, and now you've left Bob coming out of retirement that he's clearly enjoying to try and clean up the nuclear waste site you're potentially creating. And, I mean, how could he not be furious? How could he not feel betrayed? Because Bob put his – I mean, I think we all can accept Bob, whatever flaws, whatever you may disagree with, put his heart and soul into Oklahoma football for 20 years. Like, he cared. And to watch this kind of play out, I don't know any way he wouldn't be furious. Guys, the thing I'll say with what we've seen of this year, I'd like to remind any potential ambitious reporters and or writers out there, we're a publishing company, and I feel like this year's Oklahoma story would sell thousands of books. There is a story here that is fucking incredible, and I'd love to know, like, and as a guy that is around it, I know parts. I'd love to know, like, I mean, like, there is so much that in 10 years from now, we're going to be like, holy cow, can you believe that was happening? Like, this was going on, and we all thought everything was just normal.
Yeah. I mean, it just it truly, like, I wish you guys would have been
like
there.
all the people in the movie 2012 that didn't know that the Earth was going to fall into a giant volcano.
I mean, that's
living their lives.
I think is that happening right now, and we just don't know it. Is this like the beginning of the movie? I wish you guys would have been like.
I told you my theory about being in hell. I think I might be back there again.
Yeah, we are there.
We're all in
like,
hell.
Seeing some of the people within the football program leaving the facility today, it was just like, I think that, like, you can tell when somebody's like stunned and when they're like kind of lying to you. They were truly stunned. There are people up there that had no clue, like legitimately no, like being called into the office today. They like, and it's even down to the point of, we don't, like, I guess Lincoln left, like, immediately after the 2-minute conversation with his players.
Right.
Never to come back again.
They were just like, we don't even know, like, are we supposed to be in the facility tomorrow? Do we have practice? And this is like even more weird, because for the last 6 years they've been practicing this week for the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows what to do right now. It's like,
you gotta tell me what's on at 7:00 when Dean Blevins is supposed to be talking to Lincoln Riley for the coaching.
Oh God,
he might be doing it live. I mean, that was one of the most amazing things I've seen all day. Is Dean Blevins tweeted out, if you haven't seen this, that he showed up. They taped that show on Sunday mornings, so it's like, I remember always hearing stories about Bob just dragging ass in there because you got to get in there so early, and it's just like, I understand it, because doing the Isaiah Thomas show, there's a ton of editing that has to go on, and you got to put the commercials in, and you got spots to stitch together and all this stuff. So they do it as early as they can on Sunday, so they have all day to produce it, and then it goes live at 7 on television. So there's a lot of work to do. So Dean shows up early, and they tell him Lincoln's running late, and that they have to wait to get started. He waits around for 4 hours. And then Lincoln, it's announced that, he's taking the USC job, and they're like, yeah, Lincoln's not coming.
it's just kind of the last little you to the media, isn't it? I know it's like, I know we like to make fun at Dean's expense a lot, but even he doesn't deserve some shit like that. That's just, that is truly not a way to operate.
I was going to say this today, and I just like, nobody cares, so I stopped. But like, really, that's a big part of being in the media, is that no one values your time. It's all, you'll get what we give you and you'll like it. So it's like, I'm always paying you guys to do nothing. It just wait. Like, it's ridiculous that part of your job is just to be present somewhere. And you're getting no work done. You're bored out of your minds. But that's part of the job, is just waiting for someone to talk to you.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. And again, I think that there's a lot of people down there that just feel betrayed almost a little bit.
Absolutely. It's all a betrayal. Yep. Every part of this is a betrayal.
And I think that it should be noted, though, that there is no good way to, I think, handle this.
No, and it's like the 2-minute thing with the players. I'm like, I saw somebody post. Like,
I think I do think that that's probably the way that I would handle it, just because I don't want to get into the emotional side of it.
It's ugly and it's messy and it sounds, it looks bad, but you know what? You don't play with your food. You eat it.
Yeah. Well, and if you're going to make that decision and you are making the type of money, you deserve it to those guys that a lot of them, obviously aren't being paid to be there. Talking about the players.
Yeah. And I don't know what you really say.
These are all his guys now, except for those 2016 kids.
Well, that's
These
the thing
all his guys.
That's the thing about it is like how much time he spent recruiting all those guys versus how much time he spent telling them he was leaving their lives forever.
Exactly.
Yeah. It went from like it's like Friday. It's like Friday was laugh about it, joke about Riley to LSU, and then by what was it, like 4:30 or something? I was like, holy shit, we probably need to take this seriously. And today it was like Pete Thamel puts that thing out, or Feldman put that thing out early this morning that he could see it,
hours.
and then all of a sudden 2 hours later you're sitting there and you go, what? He's taking it?
You're just so used to dismissing any and all rumors like that are out there.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've done it. I've done it for over 20 years and done it over and over. I mean, it's unbelievable that it happened.
How big, Josh or Bob, is the recruiting side of things? Like, I think that we already insinuated, Brandon Ennis obviously is already out. It's more, what's more than more likely that Malachi Nelson, Makai Lemon, DeAndre Moore, that group out of California is probably gone. I mean,
I think you have to look at the 2022 class.
Started in 22.
Away from the signing period.
Is there anybody to be worried about then in the 2022 class?
Okay, no, are you worried about anyone? But who the hell are you going to add? All those guys we're talking about, Marvin Jones, Campbell, Cam Dewberry. Like, how in the world do you think you're going to land that type of final piece in the condition your program is in at this moment?
You'd have to make such a massive hire and do it so fast. I mean, you'd have to get – guys, we're talking Lane Kiffin, Brent Venable, somebody that has name credibility.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
Kids watch college football.
Sure.
Is there anyone out there that's a football coach currently?
John Gruden.
That kids recognize more?
Not a racist.
Than Bob Stoops? I mean, maybe they don't watch Fox Noon Kickoff, but is he maybe famous to kids now?
No. No, because kids aren't getting. As much as I love Bob, kids aren't getting up and watching Big Noon Kickoff.
And Bob he's not social media savvy either.
And maybe he hasn't been doing it long enough, but I guess I'm trying to put him like in a Kirk Herbstreit category.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I love Bob. You love Bob. Josh loves Bob. Bob
what
loves
if
Bob.
you gave Kirk Herbstreit the job? Would that be in tight? Would that impress recruits?
I don't think, short of a Lane Kiffin, who by the way, I would love.
Look, let's
not going to happen. Josie's not going to do that.
Let's do it.
Let's beat Lincoln Riley at his own game. Recruiting. Let's hire Kim Kardashian to be the next head coach, and then we'll fire her before the season, before they have to practice in the spring.
I don't know. That'd be a conflict of interest.
Recruiting.
It'd be a conflict of interest knowing that OJ is her sister's father and is also a USC alum, so it's kind of a full circle there, is it not?
Well, that would probably hurt Lincoln to know that Kim Kardashian was the head coach at Oklahoma now.
I don't think that there is a. I mean, we always talk about this, like looking through it through a lens of like who the popular coach is out there. Mm-hmm. I don't think that there is that guy. Like, I think it's turning the other way, that you don't go hire. Like, there's nothing sexy about Dave Aranda, but Dave Aranda's football team is playing Saturday, and they're pretty sexy when they're on the field, aren't they not?
And I think
I think
Terry
OSU's
said
going
is
to
true,
smoke
too.
them.
Like, you need a couple.
I think
If you're
that's
gonna get
more because OSU's really
Venables,
good.
someone else has to come with him. Because there isn't that one singular name that's going to move the needle.
Yeah, like
I said,
the only way you do
offense-
that is go like a dream scenario, which will never happen, but you somehow go Brent Venables head coach, Joe Brady co-head coach,
yeah.
OC, and like maybe bring Bob back as defensive coordinator. I'm just throwing bullshit out there. That would be sexy, but that's not like. I don't feel like it's not realistic because you're gonna have to open up the checkbook to get Brent Venables as well as Joe Brady.
And so, Josh, what do you think these visits are going to be like? These in-home visits for the next couple weeks?
Oh my God!
God, I mean,
Sorry.
and
They can't take them.
yeah, I don't know how you. I don't. I
Does
mean,
it
like
do more
OU's gonna
damage?
have to.
Does it do more damage to have them than to not have them? Maybe
To
because
a point,
you're not going to be able to tell them who their coach is going to be. You're not going to
Yeah.
be able to tell them what kind of system they're going to run on offense or defense. You got nothing to tell these kids.
the one question everybody's going to have for you, you can't answer, and that's. I mean, even if
are you going to be here next year?
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
I mean, as
Now,
of right now, there's a bunch of coaches in Norman that don't have jobs technically.
Yeah.
the coaches have to do it because I mean they've got to keep their resume strong, and who knows, they might get hired, whether it's to USC or somewhere else. They get hired and say, hey man, I've maintained this relationship with so and so. I think we could get him here. Now that I'm not at OU, I could do that. Or if a new coach comes in and you're trying to say, hey, I want to stay here, I want to be here at Oklahoma, and you can tell them, hey, this guy is on board, I need you to call him, he needs to be your first call. Those things are possible. I know, just as an example, I've talked to some people about Gabe Dindy, who I've been told if the right people stay around, I mean, namely Calvin Thibodeau, there's interest there. That could still possibly happen. Same for Kobe McKenzie and Brian Odom. Like, that's still very much a possibility.
Here's
how can you tell these kids anything? Because you don't know.
Let me throw. This is a serious name out there. Tell me if this name could help right the ship quickly. Shane Beamer.
I think he could.
I think that's incredibly interesting. I think that, and you talk about the one guy you could hire that might give you a shot to keep Caleb Williams.
Right.
That might be the guy.
Now
he'd have to be more of a
general manager.
no.
as a head
I'm
coach.
trying to think of a what's stupid Clemson's head coach.
Dabo?
Dabo Sweeney. He'd have to be more of a Dabo Sweeney type coach.
No, I think he would. I just don't. Like, Virginia Tech was just open. And I'm not comparing OU and Virginia Tech.
But his father's legacy and all that.
But you look at that and you would go, oh, that's a job that you would imagine he would really, really want.
Mm-hmm.
He's very committed to South Carolina. Is it different for what Oklahoma offers, knowing that they're going into the SEC? Like, I think it's fascinating. I would love, if you could give me an option out of anybody, would love to hear Shane Beamer. Would love it. I talk to him. Like, we talk every once in a while. I would love it. It'd be fucking awesome. I just don't know if he would do it. I really don't.
Talk about a change of media policy.
Oh boy.
He's somebody that truly gets it as far as the college football recruiting. Like, just look at the social media stuff that they put out after they beat.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Who was it? Auburn,
Florida.
or Florida?
Florida.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I would love to see it. I just don't know if like now is the time.
But I
because
do know,
he's only been there for a year. And let's keep in mind, he did just win 6 games at South Carolina. It's not like he's taken South Carolina. Like, I feel like I have to add that in there.
But you're not talking about you can't think in terms of what's the long term. You have to think about like we said, this program will be in a disastrous state heading into the SEC if you don't make the hire that you're making now is not for the future of Oklahoma football. It's for the now of Oklahoma football. And if you have to go into debt to make that happen, whatever you have to pay Shane Beamer, I would be willing to pay. And the thing about Shane Beamer is, he's Joe Castiglione approved. Joe loves him.
Yep.
And you
he would calm the waters.
the one-time free transfer now is really just going to kill you because there's no reason for any of these kids to give a second thought as to why they should stay.
Right.
When there's no penalty to them leaving.
I mean, like we said, if you don't make the right hire, the guy that can calm this, you don't even have a quarterback next year unless you're going to have to get someone to transfer in, and that's not going to be, you're not getting a Baker or a Kyler in that situation. Those kids have already decided where they're going. They're not coming to a brand new coach that hasn't put anything on film. Like, to me, you've got to sell out to get the right guy, and I think Beamer is on that list.
Is
near the top.
If we're just going to name off people, I'll ask the question, and then I'll answer my own question of what I heard. But is Josh Heupel a serious candidate? I've heard that the bridge. I think we all know that the bridge there has been burned. Mm-hmm. I think it would be able to be repaired if you're offering him the head coaching job. But again, I still don't like.
He's not a dynamic personality. I don't think he's gonna.
I still don't buy it.
He can't recruit at the level that you need at Oklahoma as a head coach.
And that's what I love about Beamer, because I think that's the new model. I'm a recruiter first as a head coach, and I've got the energy, and I'm going to do all that shit. And yeah, he'll go glad hand and do the stuff he's got to do. But he's not the guy trying to call offenses or call defense. He's going to go spend a ton of money on your coordinators.
Yep.
And try to make those very good hires and spend my money down and go that way at it instead of I need to make $10 million. I'm going to call the plays. And that's not a shot at Lincoln. Like I think Lincoln's done it. I mean, there's just no question. Lincoln's done a great job. I don't think that's the future of the sport. I don't think you can be that involved in one side of the ball and do what you have to do. Because, guys, when I talk to recruits, it's what head coach do I talk to? I mean, and you talk about the schools they pick is almost invariably the best head coach relationship they have.
Sure.
Yeah,
or just go to Alabama. I mean, one or the other.
I'm completely with you now. I mean, I totally think that they have to get a recruiter first, and then bring in your offensive and defensive coordinators.
Yep.
So, just from Kerry, I mean, Brent, is that an option in a serious world?
What if you brought in Beamer and got Brent to be your defensive coordinator, paying like $3 million a year?
See, that's the thing, though. Like,
that'd be incredible.
It would be amazing. Like, yes, sign me up on that right now. I just don't know how realistic that is.
Brent's kids are college age and they're at Clemson.
Shit, they're done with school.
Is Jake done?
Just transfer over.
I think that he only has one of them over there now.
Both ways.
It does.
But and I'm not saying that either of those guys have huge egos. Would either of them, would they sign up for something like that? I know that we're just throwing like hypotheticals out there. Like I almost feel like, isn't that kind of a demotion if you're Shane Beamer? You got a good gig right now. And again, I'm not necessarily comparing Oklahoma and South Carolina. I think everybody knows what my answer would be of what the better job is. But I don't know.
I mean, we all sat here and said, this is the part of country Lincoln is from and what he's most familiar with. Like,
he just went to LA.
He fits here. Yeah, he just went to LA.
Yeah.
Like, we never saw that coming.
No.
You don't look at Lincoln and say, oh, he's all LA. Like, you look at Lane Kiffin and you say that.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, like, pinning people to their geography,
sure,
I don't think is a legitimate reason to say, no, you wouldn't do that.
Sure.
I mean, he's obviously comfortable in that recruiting area.
Is there anybody currently on the staff?
I think
there's going to be a groundswell of former players that would love to see Cale do it. I'm not saying that he couldn't. I don't know about that. I think it's a hard sell to the fan base for an Alex Grinch right now, considering they wanted him fired as defense coordinator 2.5 weeks ago. Maybe even myself 12 hours ago.
That's the stuff of what's happened.
That's the problem. Your offensive talent still collapses if you hire Grinch.
Guys, I got to break in here.
Oh, God.
Just got a note from Adam Gorney, who spoke with Brandon Ennis following his decommitment. Mm-hmm. Ennis was told by Dennis Simmons that he will be following Lincoln Riley to USC.
Wow.
You're right.
So, just a heads up. I'm about to put that on the board.
Get it up. Do it. Wow.
Guys,
I'll follow that up with I had heard that
I'm laughing
I had heard that
because
Dennis Simmons was ready to go last year, and he stayed around for Lincoln, is what I was told.
Well, Texas made that offer. They went after him big time.
I'm trying to see if I can goad someone into joining the pod with us right now.
with guys, as we're throwing out names, anybody that's coached at Baylor in the last 5 years could come coach at Norman.
Well, that's another name.
Except Jim Grobe.
I would love.
Man, that's Bob's best zinger in a long time.
Josh, I would love to hear. I would love to go after Matt Rule, but do you really want to get in a bidding war with Dave Tepper, a multi-billionaire? I just don't think that's going to happen unless.
Well, it'd have to be that.
I
Matt
mean,
Rule
shit.
just
Did
wanted
Carolina
to
get beat today?
It'd be
Yeah, they got
the Rule
their
wanted to
ass
get
kicked
out
by
of there.
Miami.
Yeah,
Maybe he does though. Maybe he does want to get out of the professional.
I don't
football.
know. I think he's got a pretty good contract. He probably could get paid a bunch of money just to leave.
Yeah, I mean, he's having to start Cam Newton right now. It's a bad situation out there. I truly don't know, though.
Again, Matt Rule, though, I don't know if he saves anything for you. He's not a dynamic personality. I mean, I love his press conferences. He says very thoughtful, really interesting things, but he's not a soundbite guy.
He's not. And that would be much more we're going to accept whatever's going to come, but in the next 4 or 5 years, we'll play good football again. Like, Matt Rule will get you where you want to go, but you're absolutely right. It's not going to stay. You're not going 10-2 next year if you hire Matt Rule. Like, I think that's the easiest way to say that. He's going to have to rebuild it, but I have every faith he could do so.
Mike Gundy?
People have brought up that name a lot.
What? Seriously? though?
Okay. I am leery of burning a potential bridge, but the Cliff Kingsbury rumors,
That seems agent-driven to me.
that's what I mean, it's got no. Really?
He's got a year left on his contract. He doesn't have a new one. Agent floats it to Shefty, and he throws it out there as a.
But didn't somebody else grab onto it?
Oh yeah.
Somebody else did it.
Take
Well,
your shots.
no, I didn't. I really was. I just realized that's who it was. I know somebody told me News 4 is reporting it or something like that. I think my dad messaged me that was obviously I can't see that. I don't know.
USC just announced Lincoln.
Wow. It's crazy to see it.
Yeah, I have to see this with my own eyes. Just so oh my God. Wow, it's jarring.
Yep.
At first, I thought it was they were doing a caricature with Lincoln Riley with a giant head for a minute. That's fucking crazy. I mean, guys, this is a day that we may never see again in our lives. A day like this.
Yeah, it's unprecedented.
And we've had 2 in the last 5 years. I thought after Bob, I'd never see anything that dramatic in the course of a couple of hours. This is worse. I mean, by miles.
Yeah, but the Bob thing was weird because you guys were at
That was a handoff of. It was like everything's going to be okay. All you're doing is changing the head coach, and it was, I think, for some people saying like, "This is awesome. This is a
you
great
realize
thing."
that this is the first coaching search in the history of Soonerscoop.com. Real coaching search. There was never a search with Lincoln Riley. I mean, we started when Bob Stoops started at OU. That's when Rivals started. This is the legitimate first real football head coaching search that Soonerscoop.com has ever covered. It's amazing to think about.
And while I feel sad for the OU fans, I've never done this. I'm interested. I'm really kind of excited to see where this goes. And guys, what I can't believe is the OU fans who for the last 2 weeks have been mocking LSU for thinking they could come and take Lincoln Riley because OU is a great job, which we all know it is. It's one of the best jobs. Forget college football. It's one of the best jobs in football. And people are acting like OU's just dead. And I'm like, guys, don't get me wrong. There could be some problems the next year or two. But you make the right hire, OU's going to be just fine.
And, what's funny is Lincoln is leaving one of the best traditions, best fan bases in all of college football to go to a place that really doesn't give a shit. And, would probably close down the stadium if a COVID variant, was found to be 2 states away.
We're gonna be big Omicron guys. It does feel like it.
And by the way, that stadium is a shithole.
Doesn't it feel like at the end of the day, it's just kind of like oh, you don't think I'm going to do it? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to basically burn everything down on the way out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels, especially with the coaching stuff, especially with the way that it's gone down.
And just like you mentioned, his answer yesterday, Bob, like, I'm thinking back now to how disgusted Lincoln Riley was in press conferences when he would bristle about their record not being good enough. Like, now I think back to it and I just see a man who is like, man, these people don't appreciate me, what I do here.
There's a lot of wondering about that, especially with the Saban rant from a couple days ago, where he was kind of saying the same thing about winning ugly or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. I don't know how much that factored into it, but there's you wonder if that just day-to-day grind, the wear and tear of just hearing that nonstop. Sounds soft, but I mean, if they could have played.
I mean, he's soft. I mean, we know by his actions. I mean, I thought when that whole thing came out, about me calling him names, like, it could go really bad because of who Lincoln is. Like, he blocked Jason Kersey on Twitter. Like, he blocks people all the time on Twitter. I think now he just can't even handle getting on Twitter. He's certainly not on it today, I guarantee you. I've seen some.
I got rid of the tracking the eyes.
Oh my God, I didn't think about that.
Oh,
yeah, we need to
RIP.
nuke that. Yeah, we need to nuke that. Yeah, for sure. Thank God we don't have to worry about eyeballs. Do something else.
Should I try and get blocked by Lincoln Riley on Twitter?
I'm going to see if I've been blocked because I haven't seen him tweet anything.
I just checked.
He
I haven't.
hasn't tweeted.
He hasn't tweeted anything. Here's while you're looking that up, Kerry, here's the comment from USC AD Mike Bone. Quote, Lincoln is universally considered one of the brightest and most talented football coaches in the nation, and the fact that he chose USC is a testament to the strength of our brand, the power of the Trojan family, and the leadership of our university, end quote. I mean, that's a very generic quote, but I think it's funny that, or not funny, the wording of he chose USC, isn't that kind of a little bit of a jab at OU? I think it could certainly be taken as one.
He chose to leave OU and go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's true. It's just amazing. It really is.
It's really.
I know it's.
He needs to scrub his Twitter account immediately because this stuff looks really like his heart to Caleb Kelly's video. Like,
now we will all officially insurrect the program if Dan Mullen is hired, right?
I don't think we have to worry about that happening. So
it's amazing. It truly is amazing. I think even after sleeping on it tonight, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and still be like, what the is going on? Like, what has happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's surrender cobras for everybody.
Yeah, it really is. We're literally doing that right now. I don't know. It's going to be kind of fascinating over the next couple weeks. Is going to be even more interesting going into signing day. And then, oh, by the way, somehow, some way, this team has to get it together and play in a bowl game that nobody's going to want to be at. And I say that.
Well, that's the thing.
I say that in the nicest way possible.
And I put that on, kind of on the thing when I quote tweeted Bruce Feldman's things. But people they were like, upset because I said that, but I was like, it's a reality, man. Like, that's actually one of the first things I said to Isaiah when I told him. I was like, man, nobody's going to want to play in the bowl game, are they? And he's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to field enough of a team to even play.
Will it tell you about the culture of the program if they're able to, within the players, rally each other?
Yes, very much
To
so.
play in a bowl
Absolutely.
game?
Very much
If they
so.
come out and get killed, I think that says a lot about kind of where everything stands, does it not?
God, I would love it if every single player was like, F it, I'm playing in this game, and F you, Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Like DJ Graham's response.
Yes. I want to see more of that.
And again, it kind
And
of
we're
goes
gonna
back to
do
this
a-
idea that there's a lot of people that feel very hurt and betrayed, I think, in that locker room.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we're going to have lots more on Sooner Scoop. I've even talked to some people about coming in and helping out and delivering more content because I know, Bob, you got basketball. I haven't even told you this yet, but John Shin's going to come in and help us out with some stuff. And, it's...
USC will announce Lincoln Riley at a press conference Monday.
Not enough time for me to get there. By the way, I never promised L.A. I promised Baton Rouge. I never promised L.A.
I'm glad that you didn't use the state, what's it called, initials. Because if you would have just said, yeah,
LA.
I'll go to L.A.,
Yes.
you'd been
I strictly was clear Baton Rouge was where I would travel to.
statement.
was the
Oh,
bet.
here's the statement from Lincoln Riley, if that's
no.
any interest to you.
It's bland.
Is it? Okay, yeah, I'm not reading that. You know what? This guy.
Actually, when he talked about USC, it's some maybe a little, but when he talked about his years at OU, yeah, it's bland.
Whatever.
Yeah, and he's
He
going to...
talked about having the administration in place or something. There was some kind of
Ooh.
reference to that.
Ooh.
He will say, we will work hard to develop a physical football team that is dominant on both lines
Yeah,
of scrimmage.
good luck with that.
Guys, okay. Maybe it's me being a bitter bitch. You guys can weigh this out. There is a part of me that thinks this could end up, in the long run, better for Oklahoma.
You'd have to sell me on it.
Now, if you
not-
wanted to say you didn't think that OU was ever going to be good enough under Lincoln Riley to win a championship, I could buy that.
That's where I'm at. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't have continued to win lots of Big 12 championships and go to playoffs and all that sort of thing. Guys, the last 2 years, guys, it felt like the team was going backward. Like they weren't developing in the ways they needed to develop. Riley had shown very little to say, oh, I'm going to make the tough call and make the tough decision to make some changes that probably need to be made, or at least reevaluate the way we're doing things instead of just, hey, yeah, this is fine, we're doing this, and kind of, being standoffish with everybody that would question the situation. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying it will go that way. I'm saying I could make an argument that if they can make the right hire, that guy might be more susceptible to finish the job.
Well, it's like I said, about Joe, if this program tanks after this, it's going to be on him. It's going to end up costing his job. It could end up costing Lincoln his reputation if he goes out to USC and they don't perform at a high level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because he's just going to look like a guy. I mean, kind of like people said about his quarterbacks. Oh, you're only good at jobs that are given to you.
Like
Yeah.
Harbaugh said about Ryan Day.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that this weekend.
Which is a little rich on like both sides. That Harbaugh runs his mouth
Like,
after
Harbaugh, you've almost
finally
been
winning.
fired. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. I did think it was pretty funny.
Oh, I loved it. I mean, that's what college football needs, is stuff like that.
Sure.
But, I mean, like, if Lincoln was going to go to LSU, so there could be that hate every time LSU showed up in Norman in the SEC for years.
No, I mean,
to
but
come.
I think that one of the things that attracted Lincoln to USC is it's an easier job, easier place to win. Like, it is what Oklahoma used to be. You're in a conference where you should have superior athletes to everyone else, and you should win every year.
You have a path
But-
to the playoff
Yeah.
every single year.
Guys, USC's got a whole lot of Texas in it.
It does.
Because you look
Yeah.
at it, they've had one coach that's won for any real degree in like 35 years.
Yep.
And now he won like a monster, don't get me wrong, but he also got his team on probation and damn near got the death penalty.
Well,
That's what OU needs. Something in between, like those two. Those two.
the death penalty.
Like I don't know if they need to be put on the death penalty.
Every fan out there would be happy to take a couple of championships and then maybe get the death penalty for a year, and then build back up and win another championship.
There's not a single
right now you can't tell me that OU fans would not trade the last 20 years for a championship and then all losing seasons in between. Everyone would trade that. They don't care about the 6 straight the Big 12 championships. Take one national championship and no Big 12 championships.
Stunning day in Norman. Stunning day in Oklahoma. Stunning day just about everywhere else.
Okay. I've got so much on my phone. We got to tape the Isaiah Thomas show here just a little bit. I need some time to get this up as well because we cursed our heads off.
I'll just put it up.
I should just put
give
it up.
give people what they want.
Well, don't put up the one part you're a little concerned about there.
Yeah,
It's
do
gonna
that.
get me fired. Yeah. I'd like to try. I'd like to see them try to fire me for calling Lincoln Riley a name twice.
I think they might give you a raise at this point.
Oh, not at a radio station. Eddie knows what I'm talking about. All right. Yeah. So go check out the website. We got a special going on right now. If you've never subscribed to Sooner Scoop, it's a great time. We got I think this is ending tomorrow, right, Josh?
I believe that's right. I'm going to have to check with you
Give
on
them
that
the
one.
promo code.
It is Rivals 2021. For those that don't know, you can sign up for Rivals right now for a full year of Soonerscoop.com for $20.21. So, just a little fun with the numbers there. But, yes, this promo, let me see. Yeah, we're getting nuts. Valid offer. It's valid for about until Wednesday. So you got a little time. If you're listening to this a little later on, didn't get in Sunday night, which I think is probably going to be about 4 people that consistently listen to this. But yeah, there's time to do it, and it is, guys. We've got. Obviously, we already talked about the Dennis Simmons news. We've got recruit reactions. I've talked to several of the 5-star guys that Oklahoma's recruiting or those close to them. We've got a ton of stuff up. It's now. If you ever wanted to try now.
And then when the new coach comes in and he starts recruiting, we'll get you all that response as well. So find out exactly how the new coach is recruiting.
Quick, this is going to be
Are we just reporting Shane Beamer first? Or are we just going to get ahead of that?
Let's just do like all the LSU
I will
people
literally
just lie.
I will have a parade in
subject
Norman
to
if it's
change,
Shane
man.
Beamer. That would be amazing. I think it's pretty obvious that's
By
my
the way,
number one pick.
my parents came up on Friday to
Let's see
kind
if
of have
Sam wants to coach.
our Thanksgiving, and I took them on a tour down Asp on Campus Corner.
Mm-hmm.
They finally understood your vision for the Sky Bridge after I showed them
beautiful. Did
Sugars
they like
and
it?
Yo Pablo.
Are they on it? They want to make a donate. They could be the first people
Well-
to ever donate to the Skybridge Foundation.
Not unless Sugars reopens. I mean,
Well, I mean, the way things going, I might have to start dancing over at that place just to help hire a new coach down here. With the way that they spend money around here, I mean, my God,
so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. I just thought I'd bring that up.
that's beautiful. I appreciate.
It was
that.
actually the first time I sat there and looked and imagined a Sky Bridge in my head.
It's a perfect spot.
I think the Yo Pablo people are down to party. They'd probably be into that.
I would love to be able to talk to him. Maybe we'll have the new coach come by the.
The studios.
So weird to say all that. Like a new coach at Oklahoma. It's no longer going to be Lincoln Riley.
Shane Beamer would do a weekly show from that office. I'm confident.
Be awesome. Fingers crossed.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Emergency pod over with. Salesmanship over with. Soonerscoop.com. Come check us out. Get a great deal for a year. You don't want to miss out on all the info that's getting ready to come out and all the details and all the little juicy stuff that we're going to have for you coming up. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks to Josh, Eddie, Bob for this semi-late night emergency podcast. And we'll be back soon. I don't want to... It might be a weird schedule this week. No Big 12 championship. we'll see how things shake out. We might be doing emergency pods on and off for certain things, so we'll just see how it goes. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time right back here on the Unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com.